Stephen Harper hated me.
Hey, would you like to do an interview with me?
And I'd be like, no, thank you, sir.
We're coming up on the end of March. That means we're going to be Apriling into spring, and I can't wait. This is season 3, episode 1, perhaps. Numbering of podcasts really doesn't make any sense, and it's completely ridiculous. We are, of course, a Canadian sketch comedy group, HUNKS. My name is Tim.
I'm Dana.
I'm Matt.
My name is Rory.
Today on the podcast, we are so titillated, I believe is the word I'm going to use, to have this comedian, author, performer, writer, all-around great dude, I presume. I guess we'll find out. Welcome to the HUNKS podcast, Mark Critch.
Hello, everyone. It's very excited to be here.
Hi, Mark.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks so much for coming out. You've just wrapped up a very busy end of the season for this hour's 22 minutes. A particularly challenging season, I'd have to imagine, because Chris Wilson guested on the show, so that must have been hard for everyone.
Our national pandemic, that first season of Chris. Yeah, no, we had, it was really weird for us, because we've been doing the show for so long. So it was a big change for us because we moved into a new studio to begin with, a whole new building. The building we were in was opened in the 50s. It was one of the older CBC plants, and they had one of these. They used to have this show called Don Messer's Jubilee, which was the most popular show in Canada for like a decade or more, and it was just a guy fiddling with some people watching, and that was the big show. And when the studio opened, like Ed Sullivan in the States sent a congratulations to Canada for getting television kind of message and stuff. That's how old the place was. And everybody else had left. There's half of the building was CBC like news, and they had all moved. The building was going to be condemned. It was condemned. And then every year, they got a guy in a hard hat would come around. It's just us in the studio, and we had a little temporary trailer that we made the show in all those years because they put a temporary trailer onto the side of the CBC building for what was then CBC News World, which is now CBC News Now, for a year until they got a real studio, and then we moved into that. So that show for 27 years was done in a temporary trailer, like a kind of a trailer that a construction company would put up on a lot. And we were attached to an abandoned Scooby-Doo style building. And every now and then a guy in a white helmet will come in and go, "That's all right, but you can stay here for another year. We're not ripping it down because there's a legal dispute over the implosion. But you can stay here, but don't go upstairs because there's asbestos and rats." And that's where we made the show. So COVID.
If anything starts to break, don't fix it.
Yeah, exactly. No, you weren't allowed to touch it. And there was big holes in the ceiling where water would pour down, and they had to build a tube to collect the water. And people think, oh, it's a TV show. It's no, only the studio looked even barely presentable. And then so the whole place was condemned, and then COVID happened, and it's so who cares? We're breathing in asbestos every day. See.
We're constantly fighting off asbestos rats for our lunch scraps.
Yeah, the rats are looking at me go, "I wouldn't go in there if I was very dangerous. We won't even go in there. We're asbestos rats." And,
I wouldn't wish
so we got
studio on my worst enemies.
Yeah, exactly. And then we're supposed to get this brand new studio. So we had this beautiful new studio, and there was it's attached to this new Cultural Link Art Center that everybody's in Nova Scotia made. The government made. It's really cool.
Sweet.
And it was all brand new. And then COVID happened, and we weren't allowed to have full audiences, and everybody has to wear, bubble suits all the time.
Yeah.
So it was a really, really weird year. Yeah.
And they should have been in the old studio, and they weren't wearing the full hazmat suits.
We would have been safe, but that building is gone now. So
That's pretty wild to me because 22 Minutes is such an iconic show in the Canadian cultural landscape, not even just comedy landscape. So to have you guys sort of pushed aside into a trailer, that's wild.
People, oftentimes with CBC, when it started, it was meant to be, this link across the country for us from coast to coast to coast, and all of the provinces would show up little mirrors to each other, and through that we'd have a Canadian national identity, and then it became just a building in Toronto, and they started shutting down everything else, and the regions dying and being shut down, I think is a real sad thing about CBC, because it used to have a lot of farm teams, like 22 Minutes comes out of the cast initially, came out of, the creative came out of Newfoundland. There was a show called Wonderful Grand Band, and then Codco, you guys had Mary Walsh on.
Right, yeah.
And that became 22. So that was like a farm team. And then they were looking for people. And then they're like, oh, Critch does comedy back home. He does some stuff on TV there. Grab him. And, oh, Majumder's around. Like, so you'd haul people up from the farm team. And that kind of system isn't there at CBC anymore from the regions, I don't think. Well, we were kind of the last vestige of that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I personally think it's so special that you guys are still out of Halifax.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great too, because network, you don't have a lot of like other shows, you have a lot of, the networks are wonderful.
Nobody's saying bad things about networks.
Aren't they great? No. We all love networks. But, sometimes you don't get
networks.
as much. See, Tim, that's why you're not on the network currently with this podcast. There are people watching from network.
Follow my podcast.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's too bad because some great stuff comes out of the regions, and when the regions all produced their own shows that aired locally, that was a great way to employ people, to get writers' rooms going, to have people with a lot of experience. So then when you do get a national call, you're ready.
Yeah. Well, it seems like the media landscape has been changing drastically, not even just for CBC, but for all televised programs over the last, bunch of years due to the internet sort of changing the way the game is played. But I don't know, maybe after this post-pandemic, maybe we'll start to see some farm teams pop back up again, because I imagine just parking alone has to be cheaper to make a show in Halifax than downtown.
I would imagine. Yeah. And the great parking lot is the old CBC building now, with all those business racks.
Right. Yeah, and they're bigger and asbestosier than ever.
Yeah.
They run that lot.
Yeah.
They're the ones wearing the vests with the wands and
yeah.
And they all smoke out of their necks.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all operate a valet parking system.
Yeah.
What was it like walking into this hour as 22 Minutes when you got on, knowing how important the show is to the Canadian cultural landscape? Were you intimidated, or?
Well, there's a weird thing. Like when 22 Minutes first started in '93, I happened to be in mainland Canada, as we would call it, Newfoundland, for the first time ever. I was like, I don't know, 20 or something. And I was up with a buddy of mine doing a two-hander sketch show at a fringe festival in Halifax. Oh. And we didn't really have a place to stay. Like, we had a place to stay for a couple of nights, and we're doing like a week run and 10-night run. And then we're like, we'll find a place, just like naive. It's stupid.
Yeah.
So we get out there.
We found this rat-filled studio.
Yeah. Well, this is a fringe festival. This was like I don't know where it was. We're in like a place those fringe festivals places never a theater, so nobody's going to find you anyway. It's like an abandoned carpet warehouse. It's like nobody's looking to find you. Is there a play? I wanted to say plays in the abandoned carpet warehouse. So we're up there, and I ran into Rick Mercer from home, and I knew Rick. He's a couple of years older than me, so so we didn't really hang around that much together, but we knew each other from doing the scene back in St. John's. And I said, what are you doing up here? And he said, I'm doing this a pilot for a new show called 22 Minutes. We have 6 episodes at 11 o'clock after the news. And it's just a summer series. Do you guys want to stay on my couch? Well, floor, because he didn't even have a couch there then. Huh. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. So I stayed on Rick's floor the first week of 22 Minutes. And then we went back to St. John's, and 22 Minutes was, I never really thought about it much ever since. And then when Rick left, they reached out to try and cast that part. And a lot of people back home thought I was going to get it. And I tried out, Majumder tried out, Gavin Crawford tried out. And Seamus O'Regan, who is now a Liberal cabinet minister, also tried out. And and then we went back and I thought, I wonder who got that. The drummer probably got that, or Gavin probably got that. And that was my first time in Toronto. I was auditioning for the show.
Wow.
And
that's a talented bunch.
Yeah, I was 28. Yeah, that was a good room, right?
Yeah.
And then it was 28, and you had to go in, and you'd have to. The producers were there, and they had to. They would ask you, like, well, here's a pitch. Like, there's a NDP politician in Toronto, and they're going to have, and she's commenting on a strike or something. Go off and see how fast you can write a monologue about that, and come back in.
Oh,
so
wow.
I went off and did like 10 minutes and came back and did it. And they're like, okay, that's pretty cool. Great. And then they'd ask you about the show and stuff. And so I came back home and didn't know how it was going to go. And then we opened up the paper and saw that Colin Mockery had gotten the job. And we're like, he wasn't in the room.
Right. Yeah.
And that was back when like Colin was just everywhere. Like he was Santa.
Yeah.
He was, doing surgeries. He was everywhere.
Yeah. Parking the cars.
Parking the cars with the rats. He was very busy. And
Inspecting the building.
just walking around. It's like, everywhere you look, there was a Colin Mockery. And
The lunch lady takes off her mask. It's Colin Mockery.
It was that. A lot of people doing reveals,
Two Colin Mockeries on each other's shoulders.
I later found out he was my biological father, which was great because he's so funny, but Dad was so sad, but also a fan, so it was weird. So they went off and did that. And so Colin, and so I was like, well, I guess that's over. And then they called me and asked me if I would like to be a writer on the show because they liked my writing submissions, my performance not so much. And I went off, and so I started writing in the room. So it was my first time, writing in a room, and then that first week, we used to do 3 live sketches in front of the audience, everything else taped, and plus the desk stuff in front of you. And that week, I was brand new, and all 3 sketches were ones I had written that they picked to do.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I was like, I got this.
Patrick.
But 2 of them,
Turns out
2 of
this
them
is
bombed.
really easy.
2 of them bombed, like really quiet bomb, and then one of them like killed.
Nice.
And then I was going like, oh, geez, should I offer to pay for the lumber? Like, what do I do? I was going to go. I went up to the set guy. I was like, listen, how much wood was that? Like, maybe I can work it. They're like, no, don't worry about it. Getting 1 out of the 3 made is actually really good. So I didn't know. And then I stuck around for a while. And then I did a road piece one time. They asked me to go to this cover an event. So I got on air. And everything was going fine. And then I think it was the end of that year. Or maybe it was the end of the year after. But Colin was doing something in Las Vegas. Who's line?
Gambling.
Gambling. He was dealing with an addiction. And, he was doing horrible in rehab. And, his flights were canceled. There was something at the Vegas airport or something. Wow. And they said he can't get in for the taping in front of the audience. So a guy came in and said, Mark, what size suit are you? I'm like, Jesus, I don't know. Somebody measured me for a suit. But if anyone's worked at the circus, people are often measuring you for costumes because they might need somebody in the background or I saw whatever. So I was leaving, and this lady who works in our production office, Siobhan, turned to me and said, "You're not nervous at all?" And I said, "Oh, no. About leaving?" And she's like, "No, like about tomorrow night." I don't know what you mean. She goes, "Well, you're on the show. Colin can't get in, so you're filling in for Colin." And nobody had told me that.
Oh my
until
God!
that point.
Wow.
And everybody was panicking, so nobody had that conversation with me. And I was like, oh, then it all made sense. If you weren't an idiot, you probably would have picked up.
Yeah, they got you in goalie pads. Like, did you tell the starting goalie that he's playing tonight?
Oh, this is a very good seat. Look at me, I'm on the ice. I must thank the hey, what's going on, guys? Not cool. So I did it, and then it went well, and because of that experience doing sketch and doing some TV stuff back home, and there's lots of stuff like I wasn't I knew how to read a prompter. I wasn't nervous in front of the crowd and all that, so that really helped.
Yeah.
And then after that, you'd fill in every now and then. Then Mary kind of took a bit of a sabbatical for a while, and Colin wasn't there as much. So then they started trying people out. Myself and Sean and Gavin were all kind of like doing a week here, doing a week there kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then they kind of thought, well, these guys kind of work out, so let's keep all of them. And then that was, and that's if this was a horribly boring comic book, that would be my origin story. And by a radioactive rat.
Yeah, we
And
put
now you
5,000.
just feel it when it rains.
Yeah. Memories.
So I listened to the audiobook version of your book, Son of a Critch.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, you poor man.
Oh, it was great. It took me a while to finish just because I'm a slow listener, but no, it was great, man. It was really great. Like it reminded me a little bit of just the way you performed the book. You know what I mean? It reminded me a little bit of what's his name, Steve Martin, his book. I listened to his audiobook as well, and he kind of performed it in a similar way. It reminded me a lot of that. It was very entertaining. Like, I was going to ask, in the book you kind of mentioned that you started sketch like in high school with a couple buddies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I kind of, I had to throw a quick background. I grew up with old parents, like on the outskirts of St. John's, next to a radio station. Dad worked for radio. And so there weren't any other kids around. And I went to this Catholic school, and I was kind of like very much like, Neil Armstrong to me. Like, I'm like, I've never been around the kids before, and also it's really weird. Yeah. So, and then when I was in the 10th grade, summer going into the 10th grade, I went to do the clowning workshop because I'm a sad nerd. And I thought, well, this will fix everything. If I'm unpopular, I'll do a clowning workshop. And
you want to learn archery? Do you want to learn water skiing?
Yeah. You want to get in that. You want to, you can do some miniature models, And so anyway, there was this other nerd there named Steve, and he had some experience doing some plays and stuff like that. He lived downtown where people were. And he was interested in sketching. We were like kind of like, improvising scenes and stuff. And then he said, hey, man, why don't we start a sketch comedy troupe? I was like, sure, why not? Awesome. So we went down and we started. He knew two other people from high school. And so, we formed this thing. There's a theater in small black box kind of theater in St. John's called the LSP Hall, which is the Longshoremen's Protective Union. The old Longshoremen's Hall for union meetings. And that's where Cotco kind of got allowed to start, where Rick got to start. And then where I got my start, we went in, rented the place on a 60-40 split. They were hippie enough to rent to 15-year-olds. And we went on at 11 o'clock at night to like mostly drunken sailors from other countries who kind of wandered up thinking it was a bar with very strange-looking dancing girls. It's like, no, this is a sketch show with children. And so we would do it. And lots of really drunk people. And it was great. And then I would actually have to skip off school to go down and, paint our sets and get the thing ready. So I would go down to my campus school.
Sorry, Mark, I think your microphone might be cutting out a little bit. Is anyone else having trouble?
Uh-oh.
That's what I was using before.
Oh,
so
that's better.
Cutting out.
That's better.
Oh, okay, maybe it cut out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that.
No worries,
okay.
no worries. Just didn't
So
want
it was the 15-year-old performing for a bunch of sailors.
So we go down to these kind of weird group in this theater, and it was really neat because we didn't know any better. And you would have to go to pip off school to kind of go down and do stuff during the day and lie to the nuns and paint your sets and do the show. And it was really cool. And then we did that, and that was good. And Rick Mercer actually was one of the people who came down to our show, and he was a couple of years older. And then the next time we did it again, and then we got more people. And then I got a few of the teachers from the school actually would come down and see the shows and kind of give me the wink if I was leaving the school early. Like they knew, like, oh, you're going home, you feel sick, huh? Okay, well, have a good show. And I'd be like, thanks.
You're like scrambling to put on this wig.
We used to do like 7 different sketch shows a year, probably.
Wow. Sweet.
Yeah, like we would do second space shows, 11 o'clock at night, 3-week runs. And then that got into a thing where like we were selling out hotel ballroom.
Wow.
Yeah, and we had a pretty good following. So yeah, it was great because you write. And then that's what I've always wanted to do, is write my own stuff and perform it. And that's kind of what I do. Yeah.
Is that, can I ask what your writing process was like for those shows? Like, would you guys have an idea and improvise something over and over until you had a script? Or did you come with your own ideas and just kind of
we would all write things. Like you'd come in with something written, kind of longhand, and then you get it up on your feet, and it would change around a bit.
Yeah.
But it was fairly written.
Sweet.
And then, and it was like sketch and, some music and stuff. And then it just kept growing and growing. But it was neat because the great thing about that is you don't know any different. So you're completely brave and free, and you're not thinking of anything. And you're 15 years old. You're in front of this large audience who doesn't really want to see you. Like, they're not looking for. It's kind of like wandered in there, and then you're like, oh, and it makes you very less. You're not that precious because you're like, okay, that worked. That got that sound. That didn't. Okay, cool. Next time I won't. If I do this, then always. Okay, cool. So you're putting it together with that crowd at an early age. So it was really cool.
Yeah,
that's super sweet. I wanted to, if we can, I mean, we're all over timeline wise here, but I wanted to ask about, so like with this hour's 22 minutes, it seems like specifically you and I'm sure the show, but you just have this incredible rapport with like the top political leaders in Canada, at least the cool ones. Have you ever heard a prime minister fart? You don't have to answer.
Yes,
I don't think I have,
No,
I have, I'm just thinking because I assume I must have, but not noticed, or because a lot of them were old, like Paul Martin and Chrétien were both, they were up there. And I remember when Paul Martin was pushing Chrétien out because he didn't want to leave, and then he was going to step down, and Paul Martin was finance minister and made a run for the leadership and all that stuff. Yeah. And he's like, it's time for generational change in the party. And he's like 3 years younger than Chrétien. That sounds funny. So guys that age, if you're around them, something's going to happen. Chrétien would always choke me, was his big move. He liked to choke people, right? That was his joke. Like, because he had choked that the protester.
Yeah.
So whenever I see him, he's like, do you want me to choke you? Do you want me to choke you? And I'm like, no. Come on. And I'm like, okay, if you want, man. That's something to be proud of, though, dude. And then Stephen Harper hated me. Like a lot.
Really?
But in the early days when he was in opposition for the Reform Party, which was like a more conservative.
Yeah.
No, he didn't get much attention. So he actually, if I was up scrumming and trying to get interviews with people, he would come up to me and go,
"Hey, would you like to do an interview with me?"
And I'd be like, "Go, no, thank you, sir."
I could say something quite humorous.
It's like, oh, okay. And then I didn't know what to do. Like, he was this weird guy from Alberta. So, like, I'd do interviews with him. My camera guy, Pete, would go, "Why are you wasting time on this? Well, we're not going to use him." And I'm like, "I know. The guy's right there, And
it's Christmas.
And so, and then one time he came up to me, and, like, we were just shooting an interview with someone on the weekend. And then whenever I was up there in those days, you had to get past security. It's a big thing. You weren't really supposed to be up there. So I used to just wander around a lot and see what we could see because I find that all interesting. So you're wandering around the hallways.
Yeah.
And then he came out of a hallway and he's like,
"You're not going to find many people here this weekend. Only one who spends the whole weekend in my office. Would you like to come to my office and do a funny sketch about how I'm the only politician working for the weekend?" And I'm like, no. And then Pete's like, "Let's get out of here." And I'm like, "No, we can't because we're not supposed to be here. Like, we got, like, if this guy tells the Mounties, like, we'll get arrested. Like, we're supposed to have been out of the building for 4 hours ago." And anyway, so he had to go in and do a pretend interview with him in his office. And I'm thinking, like, man, if I had that tape now.
Aren't you going to take the lens cap off?
It's my birthday.
Ridiculous.
You guys got a hankering for Swiss Chalet?
No, we got to go. No chalet sauce for me. That stuff's too spicy.
Just the mashed potatoes.
Yeah. So, no, I've never seen a prime minister fart, but I have seen future prime ministers beg. So that's as good as I get.
That's even better story than a farting story.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So how did you know that he hated you? So, like, when did that switch from him being like, "Hello, my good friend Mark," to knowing that he hated you?
When he became prime minister,
he didn't like people making fun of him. And they did this whole thing where they kind of, they kicked all the reporters kind of off the hill, and they partitioned them, and only one person per group could ask a question and stuff. And then, I'd be popping out from behind a corner going, ha! That's not in the rules.
Yeah.
And they just kicked us off the hill. They took away our press clearance. And then whenever you'd go near, you'd get all these guys trying to push you out of the way, and Mounties and stuff coming up to you. And it's like, dude, that's not your job. Like, your job is not, you're not his bouncer.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to ask that, dude, that's not cool. So like that stuff would happen. And
they're just all in there.
They're
just all in there trying to shoot sketches. They don't want anyone else to see it.
Yeah.
I'm the only one working for the weekend.
The weekend. Not the singer, the weekend. You don't have to put that for it. We know what you mean. I've never met the man. But the interesting thing about him, he's actually really good at Harper. Is really good at impressions.
Oh,
he's a great impressionist, and he's actually he can be kind of funny, but he's a great impressionist. He does like, Brian Mulrooney and different people. He's really good.
Really?
And if you look, I think on YouTube there used to be a clip of him doing impressions at a press conference when no one was in the room. He's testing the mic. That might still be up there somewhere, but worth a look. It was great. Yeah. So. But then, all this stuff happened, and I criticized them a lot. I don't think they like that, and which is always surprising, because I'm always surprised these people watch or like pay attention, but they do. Like, I made a joke about Aaron O'Toole, the new Conservative leader, and he started tweeting at me like, "Oh, you think that?" And then Laureen Harper's wife, started tweeting at me, going like, "You're not funny, and I'll tell you what." And I'm like, dude, like, this is not a good look, I gotta go. This is what we're going to do, yell at a comedian on Twitter. It's like,
It's like they see that like Tim Hortons commercial, and they're like, "You don't test all your cups, I bet." They're just mad at whatever they see on TV.
And then after there was that shooting on the hill and he hid in the closet, I was up there kind of wandering around one day. I took a picture in that closet, and then they all got really mad at me, which I kind of understand, but then his wife yelled at me about that too. Yeah. Which is, it's Stephen behind going like, and tweet as well that he's he looks unhygienic. It's like, what?
Two exclamation points. No, just one. I'm not a maniac.
Wait, let me read it again. Okay, click then. Get it back.
And his wife is like operating an old-timey typewriter, typing out a tweet to give to someone else to publish online.
To give it to some intern. And there you go.
Tweet it.
Publish that.
It's just
Take that, mail boy.
Of a scanned document.
Well, what do you say we jump into the little game called Two Truths and a Lie?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Matt, do you want to explain how this game works?
Would love to.
Good
Two
luck.
Truths and a Lie is our favorite game to play on the HUNKS podcast. One of us will give 3 statements, 2 of which are true, 1 of which is a lie, and everybody else has to guess which one is the lie. And helping us out with those 3 statements this week is Mark Critch. Mark?
No. Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Your camera just froze for a second, and I thought, oh no, we just lost Mark. But now you're back.
I'm back.
And you look like this.
Yeah. Oh, great. Well, that's good. Mark froze at Martin Short doing panel on a talk show. It's very weird. That's a strange way to freeze. My first one is, my parents were so old that my grandfather was a whaling captain who drowned. He hunted whales and drowned. Is my first one. Is that true or false?
Okay.
My second one is that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau once punched me in the face so hard I almost passed out. Justin Trudeau punching me. Okay. And the third one is that I wasn't always going to be an actor. I also had other dreams. When they had first started out in the first couple of months, the popular folk rock band Great Big Sea, I was actually an original member. but I dropped out to do comedy, and Alan Doyle replaced me, and then they got much more famous.
No.
Or maybe yes. Who knows?
Oh, no.
You know.
Dana is a huge Great Big Sea fan.
It's just,
Oh,
I
yes.
love Great Big Sea. They're what's not to love. They're wonderful. They're
Great
a national
party band.
treasure.
Yeah, good party band.
That's,
Well, I
yeah.
sure hope that all of those except for the grandpa drowning is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope your grandpa has never died, never will die.
Yeah, I hope he's still alive.
Curse of
I can
the-
tell you my grandfather is dead, but I cannot confirm or deny if he was wet when he died. How about that?
He was wet when God kidnapped him.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Well,
so Whaler grandfather, Great Big Sea original member, or Justin Trudeau punching me until I almost passed out.
well, we know that Justin Trudeau is like a boxer, like that's how, because he had that big infamous fight against the conservative guy,
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
and
yeah. Couple charity bouts, I think.
so I could see that being true if like maybe it wasn't like it was just like sparring, you know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah.
I guess
Wait, you think they had Mark filling in
Wait a
for
minute.
the
Yes,
conservative guy?
the lady does. The lady does think that I would be a wonderful sparring partner. Thank you, sir. Put him up. Put him up. Boxing.
Hey, Mark, we can't seem to find our punching bag. Can we tie you up in the rafters for a bit?
I love
Just when you're done the show. When you're done the show is fine.
yeah, I think that the oh man, I'm gonna say that the wailing grandpa is the lie.
Which is also a great Margaret Atwood book, The Wailing Grandpa.
The wailing
So
grandpa.
good. So touching.
I love the imagery of a wailing grandpa.
Yeah.
I want that to be true, and I'm going to say that it is. I do know that you have done some musical things, but I'm going to say the Great Big Sea is the lie.
Interesting.
I also want to hear the story of the wailing grandpa, so I'm banking on it being true to hear the cool story involving like wooden spears and stuff. I assume, I don't know how whaling works. And I'm also going to throw in with the Great Big Sea being the lie. I think there's an element of truth there. I think maybe you were in Great Big Sea, but you were replaced by someone else, not Alan Doyle. I don't know, but I think that's the lie.
Or
Dana,
maybe he
what was
wasn't
your
replaced
guess?
at all. My guess was
Maybe
that
I'm still in it.
yeah.
They broke up with us, the only ones. I'm like the guy from Bachman Turner Overdrive, the drummer who still has the rights and then tours with other guys, so you only see the drummer Larry Overdrive or whoever he is. Where's Bachman and Turner?
Or maybe you just
Drums
write the
tour.
jokes for Great Big Sea. You're
Yeah.
just the
Yeah.
group comedian.
I was the original liner notes guy.
My
Just a humble brag.
guess was the wailing grandpa being the falsehood.
Okay, I'm going to guess the punch was the lie. I'm going to say he followed party lines and it went for a choke. So without
All
further
right.
ado, you want to walk us through it? What do we got here? What are we working with?
Well, yeah. So the story that is a lie is the story about Great Big Sea. That one is not true. I did know those guys before they were.
I just wanted it to be true.
Yeah, I knew Alan actually. Alan Doyle. I first met Alan Doyle in. He used to work at a museum when he was in university. He has a history degree.
A Great Big Museum?
And he was a. Well, it was a very small museum. It was basically a stuffed Newfoundland dog and one army coat.
This army guy comes in.
He
Oh,
was there
there it
and-
is. Takes it.
It's not an exhibit. He just left it. Yeah. Yeah. So Alan was in that, and he also then I saw him playing this little bar called the Rose and Thistle, and he was up on stage with about 6 people in the bar, 2 playing video lotto, and I walked in, and he was on stage, and it's the only time in my life where I've seen someone and thought, oh, that guy's going to be famous one day. He's that good.
Wow.
Yeah, because there were 6 people who were just kind of like rum drunk, and he had they were all captivated, and I was back there for like 2 hours, and I was like, oh wow, he was just really charming and funny. And then he went on and he joined Great Big Sea, so that's a lie. My grandfather my dad was born in 1926. He was 93 when he died. Wow. And his father, my great-grandfather was a whaler, apparently. I found out a couple years ago who drowned when a whalefish attacked his vessel. and then his son was a guy who was then tried to take over the family whale fishing business. Oh. And then his best friend drowned, and then he said, you know what, I'm giving this up. And he went to New York to become a iron worker, kind of building skyscrapers. And then he came home and caught TB in Newfoundland in the 20s and died. Well, I think everything was black and white TV back then.
Sepia tone.
And then the other story was Justin Trudeau. For that charity boxing event, I did go and spar with him. And then we were taping a bit for the show, and he wouldn't hit me properly. And I said, look, you got to hit me for it to work. I mean, he would just like shout, and he said, no, if I hit you, I'll hurt you. And I said, for fuck, if Justin Trudeau hits me and hurts me, good God, kill me now. And he said, no, I'm serious. And I said, no, what, are you afraid to hit me? I said, I bet you never hit anybody. I bet you, when you were a little kid on the playground, somebody picked on you. Did you get your dad's like Secret Service guys to hold down while you licked your giant lolly? And he said, is that the way you think my father raised me? And I said, yeah, I do, Trudy. And he leans back and he hits me. And man, and I was like, well, he might win this thing. And he was like, boom, boom, boom. And then he was hitting me with one hand tied by his back. But I did get to punch him in the face back. Nice. So that's my Justin Trudeau boxing story.
Wow.
He's actually a pretty good boxer.
Yeah, he looks like a formidable athlete.
And I'm actually very, very weak, too. So maybe he was just a normal strength man. I don't know. To me, it felt like a lot of pain.
Yeah, I wouldn't know the difference. I've never been in a fight.
Well, you're so rarely punched in the face, you know? It's like I realized, like, it's been a while. As an adult, that might be the only time I've been punched straight in the face. As hard as someone can hit me.
I got punched in the face last summer. It was nice. It's
been a while.
It was a heckler in a little show here at Wee Johnny's.
A heckler?
I think there might have been more going on, but yeah, it was a heckler, and I got into a conversation with him after the show about how, that heckling really didn't help the show, and he thought he was helping, and I was trying to explain like, you just were stepping on punchlines, that kind. Yeah, and then he started getting into it with our bartender, our beloved bartender Danielle, who was worked every comedy show, and we look out for her, and she looks out for us, and he started being very rude to her, and then I politely asked him to leave, and then he like looked down for a second, and then next thing you know, he punched me in the face, and a couple open mic comedians had wrestled him to the ground, and we kicked him out, but. Yeah, it was.
I'm so sorry that you had that experience with Justin Trudeau. I think my Smith and me was just a trade roll, my friend. Sir, please sit down. Sit down, sir. I have a Jugmeat Singh impression. I don't think you should do that, sir. Am I getting the light? No, that's not the light. Don't say things you don't know what they mean. Yeah.
I had the inside track on a couple of those stories because from your book, I wanted to
That's right. You read the...
Yeah. In the book, you talk about a show that you did, your sketch group did with Great Big Sea in a prison where Great Big Sea performed. And then did you follow Great Big Sea?
Yeah, well, what happened was, we came out, we did follow Great Big Sea, which is,
So when you're like planning a show for a prison, what sketch do you open with?
Well, that was like, at the time, we used to there was a local band here called the Irish Descendants, and they were quite popular, and they were big, chubby fellas. Well, they'd won a Juno, and they had they were huge. They're way bigger, like Great Big Sea would have opened for them, right?
Right.
Oh, okay.
And so we used to do a parody of them,
kind of.
Nice.
And it was just making fun of like Irishy music. So we did a couple of sketches, and then our big finish was we do these kind of funny song parodies, the Irish songs, and we think that'd be great. And we watched Great Big Sea go out, and at this point, their guys were all young, and well, they're the big local party band, and they go out, and they would come up with that energy, you know, Alan Doyle, like, how's it going? What are you at? Oh, yes, here, Denver. 1, 2, 3, 4. And he's hopping around. And then after a while, like, you're looking at the wings, I'm like, you're awfully quiet. And then he's just standing there playing the guitar, like, "My lonely garden wall," like doing like all these old tunes. Because like they're like just staring, like very unhappy.
Huh.
And I talked to the guard, and I'm like, "What's the crowd like?" And he goes, "Well, they don't want to really show like they're enjoying anything, right? Because might make them look soft to the other fellas, you know." By the way, if you're doing comedy, you might notice how the room is in an L shape of the inmates, and then off to the other corner, there's another little square of other inmates off to their own. And I said, yeah, I see that. And he goes, those are your sex offenders and pedophiles, and you got to keep them away from the general population, or they'll sometimes try and kill them. So if you're doing any crowd work, don't ask them anything. And I was like, oh no.
Wow.
I'd like to give you a suggestion.
Yeah, right? And the guys come off, and they look like they've been, you know, at war for 10 years. You know, I've never seen Alan look dejected. He's like, tough room. And he goes on, and we go out, and I thought, oh, we're just gonna, like, this is gonna be horrible. So we go out there, and if you've read the book, I went to the school I went to was kind of like a tough school, tough neighborhood kind of thing. And a lot of the people I went to school with, a few of them apparently ended up in prison, and 3 for murder. And one of them, and this is like, I'm like 20 at this point, or 19, and there's 3 guys already in for murder. One for wrongfully convicted for killing his mother. And he was in for a while and got out, and has become a real advocate for that. So
And you're looking at yourself in the mirror like, what have I done with my life?
Yeah, exactly. These guys have achieved so much. I'm out here a goddamn clown. But I go out there, and then 3 of the made men are kind of like, Critch. The guard's like, be quiet. He's like, Critch, he's all right. He's one of us. And I'm like, I'm not one of you. But everybody
They
was
didn't
like,
come from the square. They didn't come from the square.
Yeah, everybody's like, that
Came
guy's
from the big
great.
L. The big L.
Yeah. I'm one of those guys in the back. Not now, Dad. So anyway, so then the crowd liked me because they're like, I don't know who he killed, but we're going to support our boy. And yeah, so then they all loved me. They walked off like, see, that was nothing. That was easy, Alan.
All you have to do is know 3 murderers.
So 2 murderers and 1 wrongfully convicted.
Yes, thank you.
Keep them guessing. Which of these 3 people actually killed someone? The new game on HUNKS.
2 murderers and a falsely accused.
Now I want to go to prison and see who I know there, you know?
So you know, right?
Yeah.
But it was like a prison. It's really weird. It's like, it was probably like 4 murderers, 18 sex offenders by the look of it, and then people who had, like, you know, stolen beer. Like it's not Alcatraz, you know, it's St. John's, so it's like, you know, traffic violations and stuff like that.
Right.
So they weren't that tough.
Boating.
I think the crowd liked me because the 3 toughest people in the prison liked me. So they're like, fuck, this guy must be amazing. He's great, Scar.
Start clapping. Start clapping.
Yeah, start clapping, see? A couple of those rats are in there. Hey, I owe that guy from work. He's a quality individual.
I parked his car.
I like him.
Someday a rat's gonna come to you. It may not be today. May not be tomorrow. Do it. This is the part of the show where we bring the energy down pretty low. And Rory, pitch some sketch ideas not fully thought out. Never will be. Rory, did you want to pitch a sketch?
Oh, Jesus. Oh, yeah.
almost
we skipped right
forgot.
over that, right?
I
Okay,
almost
I'll do
forgot.
one.
Okay.
I'll do one real quick.
Sounds fun.
Okay. What if there was a guy who got a magic pair of jeans, but they just make his legs invisible? So.
Oh, that would be great. Very slimming. And, I would love that. So he's just basically a floating torso.
Exactly. Yeah. And feet below.
And okay, but what about his
well,
his groin area, and his bum?
Yeah, all gone.
All
Yes, you
gone.
can see
Oh,
right
that
through
too.
it.
So not just his legs. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, from the waist down. Basically, anything the jeans covers is
what those would be useful for would be that section in prison of the sex offenders. If you could make sex offenders have an invisible groin, you could make a lot of money. It's like, okay, so you get to walk around and do whatever you want, but your groin is now going to be invisible. Guy who likes to expose himself. And it's like, oh, curses! So yeah, I'd be all over that.
Yeah. It also sounds like a brutal superhero. Floating torso, man.
Yeah, because everyone knows what's there. So they I feel like it's just asking for people to try and put a sword through it to be like, whoa, really? You don't have? Oh no, there they are. Blood everywhere.
Yeah.
I love it. It's in.
Great. And this has been an absolute delight. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad you guys asked me. It's awesome. Thank you so much for doing it.
Yeah, so fun.
Pleasure.
So you just wrapped up the season of This Hour's 22 Minutes, and of course people can watch all those episodes going back a few seasons on CBC Gem. CBC Gem. Do you like streaming? Do you like dreaming? Come check out CBC Gem.
CBC Gem, it's Netflix for people who don't have Netflix.
For free. There's a bunch of great stuff on there. I was watching some episodes of the Halifax Comedy Festival. You hosting some fun galas out there? The Halifax Comedy
that's
Festival
always
makes some
fun.
great
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. Is there anything upcoming that you'd like to promote or plug or talk about?
Yeah, I got a new book coming out in October with
nice.
Random House Canada that
Sweet.
I haven't told anybody about yet. This is a Hunks exclusive.
Oh shit!
So yeah.
Congratulations to us.
Thanks. So that'll be coming out soon. Do you
have a title for it yet? Critch better have my money.
Yeah. No, it's kind of it's an embarrassment of Critches. It's another pun-based title. But it's it takes up where the last one left off, kind of like one of my first acting jobs, which was for displaced fishermen at the end of there's a cod moratorium in 1992, and the entire cod fishery in Newfoundland ended. And then there was some money to retrain fishermen, and our theater company got some money to retrain some big burly fishermen to become actors in historical pageants and Shakespeare. So my first job was out there training these guys in this little small community of like 100 people kind of, and then over time, we get 20,000 people a summer coming to see the show. Wow. And that was a multi-million-dollar theater in that town, and the whole area, the whole region, surrounding communities have all been saved, and it's been written up in the New York Times, this community now. There's microbreweries and beautiful whale tours and stuff. It's called Trinity in Newfoundland. Give it a look.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so it starts there and then gets into all the years of doing shows, and then all the 22-minute stories, and then the stories from Afghanistan and Russia and Jordan and China. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you've got so many gosh darn stories. We'd love to have you back on a future podcast. I'm sure you could probably do 2 truths and a lie until your face is blue. But
yeah. I will always. I'll come back whenever you ask, and I will always have something to do with Alan Doyle.
Okay.
The 3 will always be Alan Doyle related.
That's in our rider.
Yeah.
Dana's
if ever a guest canceled, just calls me. It's like, quick, we need you with an Alan Doyle story. Bye.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe later in the summer you can launch a podcast with Stephen Harper.
Hey, I'm here with my buddy Steve, and Steve, we're going to be talking about hockey this year. Do you have a favorite team? Yeah, I enjoy ice hockey. I don't think you do. You called it ice hockey. No. It's water lacrosse. No, it's not. Yeah, I don't feel comfortable saying fuck. Okay, you don't have
Can I go
too
to bed now?
sexual. Yeah, we'll do it.
Awesome. Rory, where can they find Hunk stuff coming up?
You can find Hunks on all of our social medias at Hunks Comedy. That's on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Bandcamp for our new album, which comes out last week. It's called Mouth Beef, debut sketch comedy album on Bandcamp and anywhere you get streaming audio comedy. I don't know why I said it like that.
That's right. Well, make sure you check that out. Check out our Patreon page. We got a Patreon page, and we have it. So you can check it out. Check us out on LinkedIn. Endorse us for creative writing. All right. Thanks again.
Awesome.
Right on.
Great. Thanks,
Mark.
guys. Night.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.
Okay, guys. Sean's gonna be here any minute.
Yeah, so find a great hiding spot, everybody.
And please, can we try not to ruin the surprise this time? I'm looking at you, Gary.
Why? What did I do?
Oh, there's the text. You guys, they're 5 minutes away. Find a good hiding spot. Hit the lights.
Okay. Deputy, where's Gary gonna hide, huh?
Shh, shut up.
Oh, maybe I'll hide under this audience? No. It's not a good idea. Maybe I'll try hiding behind this couch.
Ah, Gary, you stepped on my armpit.
Sorry. Hey, is there room for 2 lazy boys behind that sofa?
No, it's a very small sofa. It's basically travel-sized. Get out of here.
That seems impractical. Maybe I'll try hiding behind this curtain.
Ow!
Sorry!
Gary, you stepped on my butt cheek, my good one.
I said I was sorry! Jeez, okay, well, not welcome here. Maybe I'll try this door over here. Nothing bad ever happens behind a door.
Shut up, Gary.
I fell down some stairs! Oh, they kind of came out of nowhere, didn't they? Oh, God.
Shut up, Gary.
I fell down more stairs! Can you believe it? They were behind me the whole time! God, I fell down the stairs and I fell into his coffee table! Oh, God! Woo, that's a lot of pain! Ow! I sure hope Sean has peroxide in his bathroom. I think I'll be okay if I just douse myself in peroxide again. Sean seems like the kind of person that has peroxide in his bathroom. Like, he puts out that vibe, you know? Do you guys think that he puts out that vibe?
I don't know. Just be quiet for 5 minutes.
Okay. I'm just gonna try behind this other door over here. Maybe this is a little nicer. Oh, God! I fell into a big box of Christmas ornaments! Who the hell leaves a box of Christmas ornaments out? Oh, hang on, no, it's labeled big box of Christmas ornaments. Dude, stay away, Gary. Oh, yeah, that's on me. I should have read that. Oh, God, I got so much little old glass embedded in my skin. Oh, boy, that's definitely going to scar. Do you guys want to know what that sound was?
No!
I got my penis caught in a mousetrap.
Why was your penis out?
It's a surprise, isn't it? Well, I don't think there's anything good for me down here. I'm gonna come up the stairs now. Hey, I made it upstairs without incident. Did you guys hear how fast my feet move? And it was only like 6 steps. Really felt like I fell down more. I think I can blame some of my clumsiness on how low the ceiling is in this basement. I'm gonna go try to hide in the kitchen. Oh, guys, I fell into the oven. I fell into the oven and the door closed behind me and then the oven turned on. It seems like a weird feature for an oven, you know what I mean? Why would it just turn on when you get inside of it? Hey, does it mean it's on when they're hot and burning your skin? Does it?
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay, well, I think I can definitely answer that for you now. It is on. It is getting really hot in here. Okay, yeah. Oven is fully preheated and I am cooking. Anyways, I'm gonna get out of the oven now. Whoa! Oh my God, I fell into the freezer. I'm not even sure how I fell up, but I did. Wow, what a refreshing change of temperature.
Gary. Gary, shut the fuck up and come out here and just yell surprise when he gets here, okay?
Okay, I think I can do that.
Oh, he's here. He's coming.
Surprise!
Gary, why is your penis caught in a mousetrap?
It's a surprise, isn't it?
Live Foley for ya. All right.
HUNKS is a sketch comedy group from Winnipeg. Got it? They are Rory Fallis, Tim Gray, Matt Nightingale, and Dana Smith. Episodes are produced and recorded each week from their homes in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Additional production and editing, sound design, and stuff like that by me, Rusty Mattias, at my home. Thanks again to this week's special guest, Mark Critch. Holy crap, that HUNKS comedy album, Mouthbeat, was just released. It was such a pleasure to hear a live audience there on that final sketch. Stick around, because there's more HUNKS stuff coming up over the next little while, including something incredible! Okay, have a great week, everyone. Okay, bye!